Hi, everyone, and welcome to Mixed Media Morsels for 2026. This year, we're going to be calling our Mixed Media Morsels Homespun. I've made my little journal with this sweet fabric on it, and I will have kits available in my Etsy store, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about the homespun theme. Homespun is basically just humble, simple, homemade. Originally, it literally referred to spinning textiles or cloth at home. This was way back in primitive times. But we can apply that same idea to our journals and crafts that we create in our own homes. And we don't have to have any special tools or expensive items in order to create in this theme. Just use what we have, which is what we tend to like to do anyway. So I think it's falling right in line with the way we like to create. And I'm really excited about creating this year. So some of you who have been with me for a while might recall when we did a journal back in 2019, I think it was, called our snack bag book, right? I wanted to kind of get back to that because we used paper bags as our pages back then, and I wanted to do it again. So this year I have some white bags, and we're basically creating the same type of little journal using paper bags. It's 3 paper bags and a cover. That's all it is. And we'll be creating on these fun pages. We'll do 1 page each month. And on our little journal last year, we did 2 because the pages were so tiny. But we'll stick to 1 page next year. And I just think it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to show you in just a second how to put this little journal together. But I wanted to give you a little view of it and tell you a little bit about what next year's morsels are going to be about. So I hope this sounds like a fun idea to you. And I'm really excited for it. And I can't wait to start, honestly. So I'm going to now show you how to put this journal together. And after that, I will tell you a little bit more about the kits that are going to be available in my Etsy store. So before I start, I just want to say that you can make your own journal following these basic directions that I'm giving here. I'm not giving measurements specifically because all of the measurements for the cover and the inside pieces and all depends on the size of the paper bags that you use or the pages you use if you choose not to use paper bags. So I'm just going to show you the basic steps, and you can do this with any size bag. You'll just have to cut your cover a little bit larger than the pages, than the bags you're using. So you can see I left a tiny bit of an edge here and a tiny bit here and a little on the edges here. So first I'm gonna put the fabric from my kit on the outside cover. I think this is the sweetest fabric, so cute. And I thought it looked very homespun. So I'm just going to be gluing with a glue stick and putting this fabric on the outside of the journal cover. I did want to mention too, for those of you who are purchasing a kit, I did mark the front of these so that you'll have the book in the same order as mine. If you choose to do that, you can flip it over and do it the other way if you want, but I just set it up this way so that I had the bottom of the bag here, and then I have the open end of the bag on the next page, and then I have the bottom of the bag again on this side. Some of you might remember back when we did the snack bag books, I like to cut this apart so that the bottom of the bag creates a little flap that folds out, and that's always fun to create with. So I'm going to start with this and just add glue and then flip it over. And you want to put a decent amount of glue. You know, try not to skip any areas. I'm going to just do one side at a time, and also the spine area. And then I'll be flipping the fabric over the spine. So I'm going to start by dropping it. So I'm going to start by placing it where I get it in, you know, roughly in the center, so that I have enough fabric to fold over each edge. I like to go ahead and make this fold when I'm gluing something over the spine. Now we'll get the other side. If I had just laid the cover flat down on the fabric and glued it, then once it dried, when I tried to fold it here, it would be real tight, and the cover would constantly be wanting to pop up because it's tight. This way, it makes it fit around that spine a little bit better. That's why I do that. Okay, so got that part glued down. And now I'm just going to put a little bit of, whoops, wait, before I do that, I'm going to cut the corners across like this, almost to the point, not quite. Now I'm going to put a little glue here. And I'm just going to roll it up over the edge so that it sticks in the glue. I'm going to do that on the other side too. I typically cut this right at the spine area here, just to give it a little less bulk in there. So I just cut it straight along where the crease is, and then I just do a little tiny angular cut on either side. Didn't quite cut that one enough. There we go. And that way, when this is pushed up, that will be being brought away from the crease in your cover. Okay, there we go. All right. There we go. You see, that lays nice and flat. If I had left all that fabric in there, it would be very thick and bunched up right there. So that's really a helpful thing to do. And it doesn't have to look pretty or anything. It's just functional, you know. Now I marked the cover to show me where the front was. And then of course I lost that when I put the fabric over the cover. I believe I have it turned the right way. So what I'm going to do is just place a new arrow on here just to tell me where the top is. And having those holes there, it will line up properly with your pages if the cover is turned in the right direction. And this does line up good. So, all right. So you might want to do that too before you start covering. Just mark the inside. I didn't think of that, or I would have done it for you. Sorry about that. Okay, now before we put the inside pieces on, these are going to also be covered in fabric. These will be covered in the yellow checks. And then once they're covered, they will go right inside here like this. And so when both of them are in place, it will look something like this, only covered in fabric. So we need a piece to cover the inside of the spine, and that's what the little strip is for in your kit. And I just make it wide enough to go past the holes. Turn this in just a little bit on each end if you want. I think that's why I left it a little bit long. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the end and just fold it over about 1/4 of an inch to make it not have a raw edge there, and it'll be nice and crisp like the outside edges here. Right, so fold that under there. Yeah, and then we need another about 1/4 of an inch here. Yeah, no, it's good. Okay, so then all we need is to have some glue in here. And a little bit on top of the fabric too, so that it has a place to stick on the fabric side there. A lot of glue. Okay. You just want to center it. If you want to take your strip and fold it in half, and give it a little crease with your fingers, then you can kind of see where it goes in your book. Get it centered properly, or pretty close. I mean, it doesn't have to be an exact thing. It's just helpful if you get enough of this fabric on either side, because you want those little inside pieces to cover everything that's white. There we go. I think that's pretty good. So then when this goes over, that is going to cover that edge. Yeah, you just want to make sure this edge is covered like that. Okay, I think we're good. All right. And all these strings will, of course, be covered. I'm just pulling off the longer ones that are excessive. Do the same thing with the corners on this. We're going to just trim those off. And this is very similar to how we've made journals before, so a lot of you will be familiar with this, and if you're not, it's a pretty simple process. It makes a really nice looking journal to create in all year long. All right, and the other one will be created the exact same way. So the next step is going to be to put the inside covers in place. And I'm just going to quickly put a little paper clip over here, and this is just to tell me where the top is, just to kind of mark it, because we might be turning the book and I don't want to get lost again. I'm using a heavier glue instead of the glue stick this time because we're sticking the cardstock layer as well as fabric to this, and I want it to hold, stay in place. So you can use tacky glue or any kind of wet glue that you have. But I like how the Fabri-Tac works and dries quickly, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this. Now, when you put these covers in, don't cover up your holes. You can see them through the fabric. Don't cover the holes. You want to keep it towards the outside edges. It's really about, I don't know, about an eighth, maybe 3/16 of an inch away from the edges. And just kind of get it as centered as possible, but don't cover the holes. Okay. There we go. So we have our cover finished. All right, and I'm going to prop my book up like this so that the air can circulate all around, all the sides. And I'm going to let this dry well, and then I'll come back and do the next parts. So now we're going to attach our pages, which are our paper bags, into the cover. And I forgot to say earlier, if you're making your own little book, you can use like a typical lunch bag. The bags that I have are a little bit larger than a lunch bag. Like when this is folded, it might be the same width. Let's see. Nope. My bags are a little bit bigger than a lunch bag, but this will still work. If that's what you have, then use that, you know. But I just wanted to point that out, that it doesn't have to be these particular bags. So the bags are already punched for you, and all you're going to do is place it in your cover and kind of line up the holes there. You can see where the hole is in the cover. You line those up and move this out of the way. And then you get, what you're doing too is giving yourself, like I said, a little bit of extra here, a little extra there, and a little extra over here. So push the bags down into the spine, into that crease, and then press on your cover. You can feel where the holes are. Can't see them, but you can feel them. All right. And then what I'm going to do is take an awl. You can take any kind of pokey tool and find where that is, and then try to poke it right about the center. You can feel it on the other side going through, so you know if you have it in the right spot. So I'm just going to poke this through here, and I'm pushing it all the way down to the thicker part of the awl to give myself a larger hole. You can, I think you can see that hole there. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Make sure it's pushed down in there good. Okay, so the holes in my book are right about here. Okay. There we go. Now, it might be a good idea while you're working to keep something in one of the holes. A toothpick would be fine. Here's a little stick that I was using in some paint. So I'm going to put that in there to kind of keep that hole open in the fabric. There we go. While I'm working in this one. Okay, everything's still open good there. All right, so what I'm going to do is put my ribbon through this little hole. Should work. I tested it out, although I didn't have this many layers of fabric. I did test this out and it worked. So take your little floss threader that I included in the kit. This is like having a needle with a big eye on it. And just put a little bit of your ribbon through that large eye, and then put the threader there through the hole, and you're going to want to pull that ribbon right through the hole. Now, it might not be easy. You might need some pliers, which I have on hand here, because because I thought that might be an issue. So I'm just going to grab that floss threader with the pliers and kind of pull. There. Takes a little bit of work. There we go. Got it. And this time we're going to go through the back side. All right, I'm going to remove this. If you can put the least amount of the ribbon in this threader, there's less of it to go through the hole. So keep that in mind too. If the ribbon comes out like mine just did, just stick it in there again. Like so. There we go. Got it. Okay. So this is how we're binding our journal. Now I want to try to even up these, the ribbon here, the sides of the ribbon, so that we can tie a little bow. There we go. I'll trim this off in a minute where I kind of frayed it a bit. And we tie a bow right on the top of the journal. So you end up with a cute little journal that looks like that. Isn't that sweet? Now you'll have to fold your cover back just a little bit. And the pages are going to be folding. As you go through, you can kind of press them down. It's going to be a fun little journal to work in. I'm excited. Okay. That's fun. Okay, now one thing I forgot to do, I need to open this back up a little bit because I need to get to the center. Okay, so in the kit, your cover already has a little hole in the center of the crease of the spine. Okay. Your cover looks like this, and it has a hole here, and I forgot to put the hole in my cover, so that was my mistake. I can still fix it and punch another hole here, but you'll already have a hole there to go by, so when you get ready to put your elastic in, that's what that hole's for. You'll be able to, there'll be a hole here that you can feel, and you can put your awl through there. So I'm going to punch a hole now in mine, and then I'll tie my little ribbon again. So let's see, I'm going to guesstimate the center to be right about here. Okay. I have to cut a tiny bit of that fabric away. There we go. Okay, so we'll be doing some pulling again because this is pretty thick to go through that little hole. But it can be done. Actually, I want the other end to go through. Might need to do these one at a time. I think I will. I'm going to do one end at a time. And I'm just pulling on the pulling on the floss threader on the back side. There we go, and seeing it came right through. Okay, so now I'm going to have to do the same thing again. I'll put the floss threader in the same hole. That in. And just hold it close to the end and then pull it through. And then the other end is right there. Right there. Okay, so now all we do is even those two up. Don't pull it all the way through, or else you'll have to do all that again. Just kind of even it up and then make a little knot. And just keep the knot up close to the end of the, up close to this end. So just slide your knot there. Once you get it down towards the end, then you can pull and make it tight. Okay, I'm going to trim off the extra bits and then pull from the outside, pull that back down to the center. So that's going to show in the center of your book, but it's no different really than having a sewn signature in with threads there that have been sewn. And plus, it might be pretty much covered up because once the ribbon gets tied, it kind of tightens things up a little bit there, and you don't really see that all the way into the crease there. So that's nice and flat, and then we'll tie the little bow again. That is so cute. All right, and then the elastic goes across, and it can go underneath your little bow right there. So it doesn't have to come right over the top of your ribbon if you don't want it to. There we go. That's how our little journal looks. I love it. I think it's very sweet. And we're going to be working on individual pages this year. So we'll do like January here, and February here, and March, and so on. So I think it's going to be really fun. And I hope you guys are looking forward to this as much as I am. I'm really excited about it. So let me show you now what the little kit looks like that I have in my Etsy store. It comes like this, and it's got everything in it that you will need, plus a few little extra goodies. You know, I like to include a few extras usually. So you have your ribbon to tie it with, the elastic piece to make your closure. Couldn't think of my words there. The floral fabric, the little floss threader, the 2 pieces of yellow fabric for the inside of the cover, plus the spine piece. You have your outer cover and your 3 bags. See how this is already punched here? And I actually have already punched the bags too. There's a tiny hole there already. So you'll be able to just kind of feel for that hole and then push your awl through there in order to make the hole in the fabric. Okay, and then here's the 2 inside pieces that you cover with the yellow gingham. And then the extra bonus pieces that I've put in here this time are some cute little vintagey florals that I think are adorable. Of course, these will vary with every single kit. They won't be the same in each one. You probably won't get one that, somebody will get one that looks like this, but nobody else will get one that looks exactly like this. And then also a little set of these adorable little smiley face stickers that I thought were just precious. and they kind of went with our little color theme, which is almost all the colors. So I think they are very sweet, and I hope you'll enjoy using these. I'm looking forward to playing this year and creating along with you guys. And what I think we'll do is, like I said, we'll do one page each month, and I'm going to give you a prompt. Sometimes one prompt, sometimes maybe I'll do two. And you'll be able to create your page any way you want to, but the prompt that I give you will be something that you can add to your page. And what my thought is that the prompt that I give you will be an item to add that gives it that homemade feeling. And along with feeling, I was thinking it would be fun to include each month, not that you have to include this on your page, but I'd like to give you an idea each month of a feeling that you might get that goes with the homespun type theme, like maybe something that we all remember from childhood, or a scent, or a favorite food, or something that makes us feel like home. And I thought that just having that thought pattern, that little idea floating around in our heads while we're creating, might help us to really get into the creation of these pages. And not that you have to use that, whatever that idea is, on your page. You can if you want to, and then maybe I will at some point. But it's the idea of whatever the idea I give you is. It's about thinking about that while you're creating, and it providing you a way to relax and enjoy and just kind of drift off into a memory of something that, whatever that idea is, sparks in your mind. So I just think it'll be fun, and it's something a little bit different, but I think that it's going to be enjoyable. At least in my head it is. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. And so these kits will be available right away in my Etsy store, and I will get them shipped out just as soon as I possibly can, so that you guys can have a chance to create them before the 15th of January rolls around, which is when we will begin. And so I'm just going to leave it at that and just say one more time how much I'm looking forward to this. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun creating this year and doing these simple, charming homespun pages together. All right, guys, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.